keep saying everyone. We want to welcome you to the Pantheon of M. I'm your host, Ray.
And I'm Evy.
And today we are going to be reviewing the movie Jolt. It's an Amazon original film. It's streaming right now to the end of time, I guess, on Amazon. This stars Kate Beckinsale as Lindy, a woman. Well, actually, how would you describe her, in your opinion? How would you describe her situation?
Is about a lady.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. As a kid, she wants to beat people up. She has like a power of strength. So she beats up any guy who bugs her.
Yeah.
She just...
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you got it right. Her gift, if you will, is pain, hurting people up, beating people up.
Pretty, yeah.
In the first 5 minutes, it's a cold open. So her name is Lindy, played by Kate Beckinsale, and people know her mostly, I guess, now for the Underworld movies, playing is it Clarice, or I forget what her character's name is. But anyways, she's the vampire hunter. But in this film, yeah, she has a condition. I believe it's pronounced. I believe it's called. Well, they gave it IED. It's called intermittent explosive disorder. Right? And it's the cortisol level. Now, cortisol, that's like a regulatory, like hormonal system in your body. Like your adrenal gland produces that, like it controls your mood, stress, blood sugar, stuff like that, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So yeah, so her cortisol level is off the chart. So whenever she's a hair trigger away from exploding and getting angry at anybody, and because of that cortisol level being so high, her strength level is like having adrenaline that's constantly flowing through your body. So she's faster than normal and she's stronger than normal. When she hits you, you're gonna feel it. Like when you say slap the taste out of your mouth, she will slap the taste literally out of your mouth. In this case, so yeah, that's pretty much what she does. So yeah, I did a list of what this thing does. So it is the hormone that affects the brain, your mood, your motivation, your sense of fear. So she's basically fearless. It keeps inflammation down. It regulates your blood pressure. It can increase your blood sugar. So if you're taking insulin, stuff like that, glucose level, it can actually control that.
Yeah.
And your behavior. So it's pretty intense what this does. And it's located just above the kidney. So it's, even though it affects your brain, it's actually located around the kidney area. And in her case, it flows tenfold, like a fuel injection, makes her go nuts. So it's a pretty cool. I didn't know what that was until I thought it was like something else, but that was pretty decent. This film is extraordinarily bonkers, in my opinion. So the idea of Jolt, she wears this harness that electrocutes her to keep her anger at bay. So she has a shrink who's devised this. It looks like a chastity belt, but for the chest, and it zaps her. So whenever she has a triggering moment, the zapping of her keeps her like from exploding or having these anger bouts. So it's pretty decent how that works out. But overall, what were your thoughts of this film? Like, what did you think about this film? Did you like it? Did you like the action? Like, how are you? Because this is part of our John Wick Wednesday. So how are you like balancing this out as being part of like the flow of like of a Wickian, John Wickian type of film?
She can fight. She could beat up anybody she wants, and that's kind of good. It's kind of like not. She's not shown as weak or anything. She's really, really strong. And I think her and John Wick, she's like him. She's tough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's in the league with there's a movie called Kate. There's the movies that we just reviewed, like the girls from Sin City, or there's the girls from the Gunpowder Milkshake, where you have leading women who can take the charge, who can really, women can hold their own. And it's kind of refreshing to see women not being the damsel in distress. It's the 21st century, it's the era of the Me Too movement. Women, should speak up for themselves. So this is kind of face, if you will, like an uplift, like a reality check that women are not like pigeonholed of this old school mentality. You know, in that sense, that's a wonderful thing. Did you like this movie? Was this a movie that were you entertained by it? Were you falling asleep during this film, or was this actually like a really decent film for you to watch?
Decent film for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, um, women not shown as weak,
Mm-hmm.
but like a woman who could fight anybody if they need to. Um, but it also shows that that she has a heart and that she can, and she's not tough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Although she sort of is, she would, you know, like she has a heart.
Yep.
She can, yeah. So sorry about.
It's okay. Well, it has a pretty good cast. I mean, you have Stanley Tucci as her psychiatrist, Bobby Cannavale, who we've seen last seen in Ant-Man, Lorraine Cox. Well, the tagline was "You're in for a shock."
What do you think that this movie actually is responsible for women's era, like making it very, very, or is responsible, like to actually um, um, help out like women and their me type thing?
I think this is a good role model. I think it's a good role model in the sense that yes, people, like people who have issues like mental health, you don't be afraid to ask for help. You're not alone. Also, it puts women, as a strong person, stand
Mm-hmm.
even in the set. My takeaway from this movie is that you have a woman who's damaged, a woman who caused a lot of pain. She has a chemical imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and even in the light of that, even when her parents abandoned her, uh, she found it in herself to seek help. Even when she found, there's a scene where she finds a new boyfriend, and she sort of like now has a manic reaction where she's in love with this person. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Stucci's character says, "Well, you're manic. You're not really processing what you're seeing properly," but she has enough insight and self awareness to seek help. Not afraid to ask, and it does put It does put young girls in a positive light that you can change for the better. You have the power within you to do positive things,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a superhero film, but like for the average person, like every woman can be a hero. There is a message in that I thought that was beautiful. um you know uh what was your question? Sorry. I forgot
Um,
did
does
I answer your question? I don't know if I did or not.
um, about um, what why do you think that women um, um, do they kind of help women like to be strong? Are they responsible for, or do they help the women's movement?
This, you're talking about this film, right?
Yeah.
um I don't know if it doesn't really move the needle forward in terms of women's movement. I just think it brings a spotlight on mental health. I think it puts a spotlight women of abuse in
Mm,
one sense. Uh,
okay.
and I think um, it's like with horror films. Like I think like I just did watch the movie *Malignant*, for example.
Mm,
Crazy bat crazy movie. Have you seen *Malignant* yet? James Wan movie. That film. I'm not a fan. I'm not a true fan of horror. Growing up with it, it sticks with you for a long. For me, it's the visual sticks with me. This movie, it's fine. It's not. It's a scary film, but there is something to it that makes it kind of fun to watch, especially with a
oh,
group or on your or
mm,
on your own.
okay.
Uh,
Cool.
so, anyways, my point of this is that yes, it brings a spotlight on issues with horror. With that horror film, it brings up abuse. It brings up like spousal abuse,
Oh,
and then trauma. physical trauma and mental trauma. That's and what a lot of horror movies where there's Dawn of the Dead. I mean, there are certain themes in it that I think it's like a Trojan horse effect, whereas like it allows you to talk about things that are not comfortable to talk about in like in general sense, but through this medium, uh, through horror, it actually allows you to discuss it and bring things up in a nice communal way that's sort of like palatable. And this movie does the same thing too. I mean, she's a girl from childhood, had issues of mental health, mental chemical inadequacy or unbalance. Sorry, and it is normal. These things do happen, and I think for women or men, but for speaking for women, I think this is a really good way to approach it, to talk about this.
Okay.
Like if for example, like if a girl was watching this, because this is an empowerment movement, a movie for women or for girls, to understand why she is the way she is and what her problems are. It's a good way to address that, especially for young girls who are bullied or have self-esteem issues, or has like ADT, or like certain things. Like it kind of brings up a discussion where it's like, oh yes, I have these feelings, or I get angry, how do I cope with this? And this is sort of like really good. This is a really good doorway to have an open discussion at home. So I think it's a good thing in
Cool.
that sense. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, and on that note, I am Ray.
I'm Evy.
And Evy, how can they reach us? Just so before we end this off.
By going to the pantheonofm.com, just to get this movie and the message out there.
Perfect. All right. And on that note, I'm Ray.
And I'm Evy.
We'll talk to you next week. Take care.